How would you like to achieve your first million? And today we have Jonathan with us, which is the founder of Breeding Law. So, Jonathan, tell us what are the 5 steps to make your first million?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
I tell you what, the 5 steps, it's funny, you told me just to write this down. I had to do it. The first thing I think you need to do is you need to get educated in a subject matter that would allow you to provide a service to the public and answer a need that the public has, right? To get money from the public, you have to be able to give them value. So in my situation, I went to law school and I got an undergraduate degree from NC State University, and I went to law school at Campbell Law School in Booths Creek, North Carolina. And now, I've started my own practice outside. I'm in the suburbs of Raleigh, North Carolina now, and we primarily do family law. But the first thing I had to do was get an education and get a license that would allow me to provide the service. Now, you don't have to have a license to provide service, but if you want to be a lawyer, you have to be licensed by your state. So the first thing you got to do is get educated in something, learn a skill, learn a trade, learn something that would allow you to provide a service to the public that they will pay you money for. The second thing I think you need to do is once you've identified, what you think the public needs and you've developed the skill. And look, you don't have to go to school. You don't have a degree. YouTube is the greatest teacher of all time. You can learn to do anything in this world on YouTube. I mean, anything you want to learn, it's right there and it's absolutely free. The best teachers and speakers in the world are on YouTube, and they have tons of videos for you that you can watch and learn. Anything you want to learn is on YouTube. You don't have to go to class. You can sit there and just watch YouTube videos and teach yourself. So the fact that the availability of education and information is unlimited now in this world, and there's no excuse for not gaining a skill or educating yourself. The second thing you do once you picked out the area is you need a geographic area that you're going to serve. Now, if you're providing professional services like a law firm or a CPA or that or a cleaning company, and you're going to physically meet with people, like I do, we go to court every day. You need to pick out a geographic area that could use your services. You should look at who the competition is in that area. You should see whether that area is growing. One of the greatest decisions I ever made was not to go back to my hometown of Laurinburg, North Carolina, on the North Carolina-South Carolina line, not far from south of the border on I-95. If you've been down I-95, you've seen the Mexican-themed amusement park there. I grew up not far from there. That's an impoverished area of the world. It was not growing. It was losing people. It's continuing to lose people. NAFTA absolutely destroyed the economy of that area of North and South Carolina because all the jobs went to Mexico. And that's not a bad thing. That's a whole nother speech about do things better, and we can talk about economics, whatever. But it did destroy that area. And the number one decision I made as far as being able to make $1 million was I didn't go home. I had a job offer that I didn't apply for when I passed the bar. And I decided to stick with my plan of being in the Raleigh area. Raleigh, North Carolina in 2000, when I came out of law school, was really starting to explode. It is still the fastest growing area in America, or the top 2 or 3. Raleigh, Austin, Texas, Minneapolis, Minnesota. You throw them in a bucket. Colorado Springs, Colorado. Throw them in a bucket. Pick on who you want it. It's the number 1 place to live in America, depending on which magazine. Like I said, we sort of get in these competitions, but Raleigh, North Carolina is never going to be outside the top 5 of anything when it comes to business climate, places to live, places to raise a family. It's just awesome. It truly is a great place as well. So I chose to come here. I'd gone to NC State, which is in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm a big Wolfpack fan. I know we're struggling in basketball this year, but we did go to the Final Four last year. But I went to an area that was growing, and I didn't go into the city, right? I came to the suburbs because the suburbs were underserved and the city was overserved. And the suburbs are still underserved today. And in most metropolitan areas around the country, there are enough providers of professional services in the cities, and there's not enough in the suburbs. So one thing is go to the suburbs. That's what I did. This is still considered a legal desert out here in the suburbs. There's still less than one lawyer for every 1,000 people in our area. And it's that way for like 80 of the 100 counties in North Carolina. So if you're in an area where there's not enough providers, you can almost not help yourself and make money. So that was the second thing I did. The third thing I did was I came up with some plan to try to market. And the internet was a new thing back in 2000. Harry, I mean, you're kind of getting old. I'm kind of old. It was a new thing.
Absolutely.
Yes, it was, but it was a new thing. And I know a lot of
Oh
people
my God,
a
tell me
new
about
thing.
it.
Like, right, like it was a brand new thing. And I was one of the first people to ever in my market have a website. and
Wow.
and I also,
Really?
of course, when I first started, I bought a small Yellow Page ad, not in the main Yellow Pages, but in the suburbs Yellow Pages, which cost a tenth of what the main Raleigh Yellow Pages costed, right? And then I got very involved in my community, which I still do today because that's free. Chamber of Commerce. I was in the Civitan. I was in the Little League. I was on the board of the Little League. I am still very involved in the community. I'm still involved with Backpack Buddies and the local domestic violence shelter and all of these organizations I'm involved with even now. I was on the Little League board for 9 years. That stuff, nonprofits, they all need it. And that's a way for you to give back to your community and meet people in a situation where you're not selling to them, right? They get to know Jonathan Breeden as the Little League board member, and we're providing Little League for baseball and basketball and these kids and stuff like that. But then when their marriage didn't go well, they're like, well, I know this guy. I trust this guy. We've been together. I've watched him paint dugouts with me, and then they come hire you to do their case, or they tell their friends about you, right? They become referral sources. And I didn't spend a dime on any of that, right? That was just being in the community. Now I'm sponsor every Little League team I can find. My logo is on the football field of the local high school. I mean, I'm in the suburbs, and we're an unincorporated boom intersection. And I'm sure a lot of the listeners live at boom intersections. And so I'm the mayor of this intersection. We're not a town. We're just a boom intersection, right? And I primarily live in Johnston, work in Johnston County, which is one of the suburb counties of Raleigh to the southeast. It is where I-95 and I-40 meet, which is the two biggest interstates in America. So if you've ever been where they've met, you've been about 15 miles from my house and my office. And so that creates a lot of commerce. There's a lot of growth here because of Raleigh. So more and more people keep coming. That's more and more families get divorced, more and more work for Jonathan Breeden to do. So that was the third thing was come up with a plan to market now. Google My Business, absolutely free. Make a Google My Business listing. Blogging onto your Google My Business listing is free. A simple website you can teach yourself on YouTube in an hour is basically free. These are things that you can do to get your message out, your word out, that you exist, that don't cost anything. Now, of course, I now do local service ads and pay-per-click, and I got marketing agencies that blog and all this stuff. But I'm just talking about anybody can do this basic stuff. The fourth thing I did was and when I started, I didn't do as good a job of this as I do now. You have to charge a good fee. Don't be the cheapest. Don't race to the bottom. Know what your overhead is. Keep your overhead as low as possible when you're early on, but charge a fee that allows you to make a living. If you're not charging enough, then you're working and going backwards. And you don't want to be the cheapest. That's a loser game. You charge what you want to charge. You charge what you need to charge. And most people are not going to call multiple places. If they know, like, and trust you, if they bought into whatever brand you've created, then they're going to pay whatever.
Absolutely. You're right, 100%.
And I am now the most expensive attorney in
my
two suburb counties.
Look at you and look how proudly you shared this, yeah?
Yeah, no, right. And
that's because you're the best
right?
then. Yeah.
No, but I did start doing that when I hired a coach. And of course, the coach had all these surveys of what attorneys should charge around the country, right? And he was like, you're way undercharging. And so he's like, raise your fees. And I'm like, I can't. Nobody will hire me. And you know what?
Wow.
I raised my fees 6 times in 4 years, and I get more and more hires. I'm going to have the biggest month ever.
I
And I'm the
believe
most
you.
expensive.
I believe you.
And so that's the thing. And I'm competing against people who don't charge the right fee, that don't have the staff. They can't compete with
Absolutely.
me because they can't provide the level of service I can provide because they don't have any help because they didn't charge the right fee to start with, Harry.
100%. 100%. And then Jonathan, let's talk about this because you made my day today. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Any,
the
and
fifth thing, you said
yes,
five,
go,
don't quit. Don't
but
quit. You don't lose if you don't quit. That's the fifth thing. I didn't quit. And we could spend hours of me crying myself to sleep when all my staff quit and I had to start over. But don't quit. Make decisions to be better every day. One decision to better yourself every day will help you do this. And you got to expand your time horizon, right, Harry? Everybody's like, I want to make $1 million in a year. You know, it took me 20 years to make $1 million, but it didn't take me
absolutely.
but 18 months to make two,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
I believe
So,
you
I mean,
100%.
right. So
What
that's the
changed?
thing, right? Right. So
Yeah.
it's flywheels and all that stuff.
Hmm.
I'll stop talking. But anyway, I just thought
Oh,
those are
Jonathan,
the
I love
five
you.
things.
You make my day today. Let's talk about a few things. And by the way, this thing that happened to you, that all your staff quit, this happened to me in one business. That was, you see, and I think looking back, it was the best thing that happened because I brought new people that were aligned with the value that the business had. And you see, sometimes hiding fast, bring that as you're as an entrepreneur, you don't have experience. And I was hiding too fast, and people that were not enrolling the values that that business had, the value that were different, and that's why we had this this clash. And they one day I arrived to the office and they quit in but it was good. The people that came, they were even better because and that business grow and did well. Now, Jonathan, let me tell you why you made my day today, because I'm seeing a lawyer here in front of me talking like an entrepreneur, and this is the thing that I love the most. Yeah, I know that a lot of struggle has come into your life 20 years of development, of self development, because I know that is nothing more harder for a lawyer than to become an entrepreneur. Because you see, as a lawyer, you read the documents, you're very good at only this one thing, you see. But it's sad that I see people, even in this podcast, we interview lawyers that they say, well, the only source of income that I have is referrals. If the only source of bringing client to you and you are a lawyer are referrals, there is only one thing that I can tell you. You are amazing at your job. You're so good that even by referrals, you keeping your firm alive. However, you can tell them, Jonathan, how much money those lawyers are leaving on the table because is hard for a lawyer to become an entrepreneur, because now you need to learn about marketing, you need to learn about advertising, you need to learn about these marketing strategies even from the beginning. You need to learn about website. Look at you. You see, when the website come, I'm a technical guy, and when the website came, I was doing the first websites in the .com. I was this when I was working in Spain, yeah, and he said it was hard to do it that, when the websites started. It was something that was difficult to understand. It was something that was expensive, and there you go, starting the website. You one of the first lawyers that have a website. So, um, why do you think, Jonathan, that, or what advice do you have for your fellow lawyers there? Because from this broadcast, we want everybody to be happy, wealthy, and healthy. And I want to encourage all lawyers out there that they can make more. They're leaving a lot on the table. They are amazing attorneys. They're even the only source of bringing clients are referral. Can you imagine this? How good are these people? That the people are so happy with the service that they bring them people, and they've been in 20 years in business just by referrals. And I'm thinking, man, these people are so good. They're leaving millions on the table. just by learning some new skills, like become like you, Jonathan, because you speak like an entrepreneur. Yeah, I think that you're speaking like an entrepreneur first and like a lawyer second one. And most lawyers, they are lawyer first and entrepreneur after. So what what advice or what message do you have to your fellow lawyers that they're leaving money on the table because they don't want to go to this painful process that learn skills that I mean, it have been painful for you. It took you 20 years. It's not that you enjoy learning about marketing. It's not that you enjoy learning about customer acquisition. It's not that you enjoying about how it was. You did it for your business. So, what message do you have for your fellow attorneys out there?
I mean, they don't teach you any of this in law school, right? Law school teaches you about the law.
Absolutely.
Right, right. They teach you
they,
about the law. So you have to go back to point one, get educated on all of these types of things, Harry. And so I was very fortunate that I hired a marketing company in 2016 called Postali out of Columbus, Ohio. And they do all types of marketing just for lawyers. And I had a website that was not working, and they all of a sudden, within a year and a half, built me a website, breedenfirm.com, that became one of the top 10 family law websites in North Carolina and still is today. And so all of a sudden, I went from not having, well, I probably had enough leads. I wasn't doing them correctly, but all of a sudden, I had even more leads than I'd had before. And I did not understand. I knew I had to make a number every month, right? Like every small business owner knows what their number is. For many, many years, like 10 years, my number was somewhere between 30 and 50,000 a month. If I could bring in between 30 and 50,000 a month, I could break even. I could pay my one or two employees. I could pay for the website. I could pay my rent. I was doing all of the work. I was working 6 days a week. I was burning midnight oils. It was not I was not charging enough money. And I did not believe that I could scale because I didn't understand. While I always made whatever the number was, I did not understand how I was making the number. All I knew was I was finding a way to do it. I did not understand this sort of perfect client life cycle, from leads to sets to shows to hires to average case value to paid in full to referrals, do it all over again, right? I had no clue about how any of that worked, but I started to get some idea from this marketing company, and they were like, well, what percentage of consults hire you? I had no clue. This is like, I started in 2000. They asked me that question in 2018. I did not know. So I had to go back and make a chart, like what percentage was hiring me. And then they were like, well, what is your average case value? I did not know. So I had to make a chart and start to figure it out. Well, you can take, close percentage times average case value, figure out how many consults you're doing, you can figure out how much money you're going to make next month. I didn't know that, right? But I do now. And so as I started to gain
But
knowledge
Jonathan,
of that,
your fellow attorneys listening this podcast, still they will wondering, wow, I don't know.
right.
So
And this is
I'm
not
glad
just
that you
attorney.
opening. I'm glad that you opening the topic because nobody, your fellow attorneys, nobody wants to talk about. Yeah, nobody wants to raise the case. Nobody wants to. But you're right, 100%. They don't teach any of this in law school. You
No.
guys need to learn it the hard way. And so tell us what else you
Right.
didn't know that now you know, and
Right. Well,
you're
another
rock
thing,
and
Harry,
rolling now.
it's not just attorneys, right? This is any business. I don't care if you're an
I agree
accountant,
with you. I
a
agree with you.
dentist. I don't care if
Yes.
you're washing cars, you're cleaning houses. It doesn't matter. You have to know how many leads you have, how many of those leads you're converting to a set appointments where you can sell to them, how many of those people are hiring, how many of those people are paying, how many of those people are referring to you, so that you can get some idea. Like
How much is
that's
costing them
business.
to acquire those clients? Your
Correct.
cost of acquisition of clients, and understand also the long-term value of a client as well, which is really, really important. All these type of things, everybody in business should know this, but nobody teaches. Nobody teaches also in the school to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
Nobody taught
But
me how to do it. I have to struggle
right.
so much like you. How to a lot of businesses fail because I had to learn all this. Yeah, some of them went successfully, but some of them failed badly, right?
Well, and I found a coach, right? So the marketing people got me started thinking the right way. And then in late 2019, I finally was brave enough to hire. I had some junior associates over the years that I basically treated as paralegals, but I went and hired an attorney who actually had some experience and knew what they were doing in the fall of
Wow.
2019. And I immediately I doubled the business in the first month
I believe you.
because I had that many leads. I could do that many more consults. She was a very competent attorney. And so in from August to February, from August of 19 to February of 2020, I doubled the business and I did more than that 6 months than I'd ever done in any 12 to 18 month period. And we all know what happens in March of 2020.
Yeah. But
And
then Jonathan, number one, talking about the marketing, because you say you hired the marketing agency. This is what I believe. I believe that when you hire this marketing agency, by now you knew what you want, because maybe the previous marketing agency or you were doing by yourself, and you knew that was not working. You knew that the website is not converting enough for you. You knew that. So when you spoke with this new marketing company, you have some knowledge. You told them, okay, guys, I will hire you if, and I can pay you X if you can, guys, can deliver this result. You see, the thing is that when we don't have a basic knowledge, and you 100% right, a lot of knowledge is available in YouTube and it's free. If you don't have a basic knowledge about what marketing is, yeah, how can you hire that company? How can you evaluate the KPIs, the key performance indicator of that company? How can you evaluate the results of this company if you don't have a basic knowledge? So yeah, the marketing company, any company will tell you, okay, this is we are very good and we can solve your problem. But at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur, you know your number, and sometimes because you don't learn and you don't change. Sometimes you don't even know that it's possible. Look at you. Were you ever thought that was possible for you to double in a month
right,
after lots of years of struggle and survival and people and this is possible if you have the right coach and you have a mentor. So something that you're very good at, Jonathan, that I can tell you're very good now bringing the right people to your organization.
right,
It's not that you hire a coach. This coach that you hire is very good, because people we can talk about coaching, but the thing with coaching is that if people sometimes make the wrong they hire the wrong coach. They hire a coach that hasn't achieved the result they want to achieve, and therefore now they have a bad experience, and now they say, oh, coaching, it doesn't work. And this is not true. If all the people that have been in this podcast, they all have several coaches. You even listening this broadcast you shared with me before we start to record it, that listening this broadcast, we talk a lot about the power of coaching, the power of mentoring. So,
right.
what is the
And
secret, Jonathan, to hire the right coach? What is the secret to hire the right marketing agency? How you did it?
right. Well, hiring the right marketing agency, I had been doing marketing pretty extensively since I'd started. So I was familiar with the terminology and the changing and what was going on. And so I could have a conversation with them about what I believe we needed. I checked their references. I looked at their other websites. I called some of their other clients to see how responsive they were. And I did my homework. And I agreed to pay an amount of money that I probably thought I could not afford at the time to get where I wanted to go. And then I hired a lawyer coach, Richard James, your practice master, and he was out of Phoenix, Arizona at the time, in May of 2020, in the middle of COVID, because I knew I had all this work. My business, of course, got cut way down when COVID happened. All my employees quit in June of 2020. It is what it is. I had 3 employees; they all quit, COVID-related type stuff. I had to start over, but I had this coach, and he was teaching me these things about the perfect client life cycle. He was teaching about marketing. He was teaching about customer service, and so I just kept listening. He had conferences 4 times a year. I tried to go to the conferences in person. I met other people that were like-minded, but in trying to find the coach, I interviewed several coaches, and I found a coach that was speaking to people in my financial niche, right? Some coaches, I talked to one coach and I was already too big. His thing was 0 to $500,000, outsource everything solos. I was bigger than that. I talked to another coach who really only wanted to talk to people that were 5 million or more. Well, I wasn't even at a million yet. So I was like, that's not going to work. So I found a coach whose niche was 750 to 2.5 million in gross revenue.
Wow,
You know what
very
I mean?
good, very
Right.
good.
And so that is because at that point
That's why
it
people
gets
also have bad experience with coaches. They just hide the wrong person. You
right.
clearly identify this coach is not for me. This is not in backyard.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, when you get towards 750, and I don't care what you're doing, it's beyond you to do all the work. And at that point, you have to start bringing in key team members that do the work, that you can create processes so the work can be done, even though you're not doing it, and you can hire the right people, train the right people, and that's how you scale. And so that's what his focus was, still is today. He now is out of Charlotte, North Carolina, but he still does 4 conferences a year and weekly office hours. And he started sending me books to read. And I had not been reading books, Harry, since I'd gotten out of law school. And, I'm like most people, I wanted to watch football. But he started mailing me books. And I'm like, well, I'm paying this guy. And he says, I should read this book. And
At
the
least
first
I
book
should
he
read
sent me,
at least I should read the books, right?
right? And the first book he sent me was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I was like, and I
Wow, great
started to
book.
read it. I started to read it, Harry, and I stopped because I didn't get it. It wasn't speaking to me because I wasn't ready, right? 7, 8, 9 months later, as we
I
come out of
understand.
COVID, I've been in this program. I've watched more videos. I've made some friends. I go back and I start to read Think and Grow Rich again, and I read it in like 2 weeks. Like I just devour it, and I'm like, this is it. But the first time, I didn't get it, right? Like I didn't get it. And the whole point of the book is anything that you can imagine, anything you can think about, you can bring about. And what you
100%.
think about, you will bring about. And the power of the mastermind. So Napoleon Hill wrote this book. It's still out there. It is a phenomenal book. And basically, he interviewed all the great leaders of the time between 1910 and 1930. So it's Henry Ford, it's Rockefeller, it's J.P. Morgan, it's one of Einstein's assistants, but not Einstein himself, if I'm not mistaken. And I think I'm right about that. I could be wrong. But anyway, it's those types of people and what made them successful. And, like Henry Ford had a 8th grade education at best. Some people said he was functionally illiterate, but yet he built one of the greatest car companies in the history of the world because he believed that you could build a cylinder engine. He didn't know how. He wasn't an engineer. They failed 100
Badly,
times at least
absolutely.
before the engineers who worked for Henry Ford, who was not very educated, built the engine that he imagined could be built because he believed it could happen.
Absolutely.
And so that's the thing. And so I had to start to change my mindset if I was going to be successful. I was anxious. I had lots of anxiety. I had this scarcity mindset that we all sort of have. There's not enough. I got to keep all the acorns. Somebody can't do work under my name because if they mess up,
Exactly. Tell me about it.
all of that kind of stuff. And so I had to make
to let it go.
I had to make a mental shift to be able to do this because the mental person of Jonathan Breeden in 2021 could not have 23 employees and all the business we have now because I wasn't a good leader and I was too focused on myself and scarcity and not believing there was enough and not knowing what I was doing as far as this. But now I know there's enough for everybody, Harry. Anything you want in this world, you can go get. But you have to make a decision to be better. And by making a decision to stay where you are in a job you hate that's going nowhere, that's a decision too. No decision is a decision as well. So make a decision to better yourself today. You're listening to Harry and Jonathan Breeden say, what can I do today to be better tomorrow?
And Jonathan, I have a very good news for you. You see, you're not alone. You're not alone. Most of the things that you're describing, I'm saying I'm been there. You see, things that happen to you, of course, happen to me as well. Like for example, this that you describing. Number one, let's talk about pricing. Yeah, I started. You see, we start. I remember when when the crisis 2008, my first business was in property. We managed to sell over 5 million. But I was that guy at the beginning with that big ego. Everybody, what I don't trust anybody. I not gonna give the keys to my land. I'm not gonna give the. I'm not gonna hire anybody because why they come to the property and they steal the computer from my tenants, and why and I don't allow anybody to speak with my landlords. Why they take away my business? So I was that guy when I started my property business. I got so lucky that because it was growing so fast, I was so exhausted, so tired. I'm waking up with my laptop at 6 a.m. and I'm working endless hours and I have a job at the time. I was a room service in the Hilton. At the same time, I was building my property business. So I had to wake up 5 a.m. No, 5 a.m. I had to be in the Hilton. I had to wake up half past 4. 5 a.m. I need to be in the Hilton, work from 5 a.m. to 4 p.m. and then 4 p.m. then go out and start to run my property business. So by and do the sales, do the things, do that, and I'm working so hard, surviving, making this number to try to break even. Sometimes the whole salary for the hit I had to put in the business because I made a mistake. But I'm so tired, so exhausted. Then I said I can function anymore. I need to hire someone. Guess what happened, Jonathan? The people that I had, they were better than me at everything. One day I arrived to the office and then sent me home. They told me, Harry, we don't need you anymore in this business. We can grow without you. So, but in that journey, because you're talking about price, I've been there because, when 2008, the credit crunch came, I was scared in running a business like everyone. So I said, you know what? I'm going to lower the prices of the rooms. And boy, I get it wrong. I lost literally millions because of this. Because I lowered the prices of the rooms, and guess what happened? Still the room were empty because the problem was not the room. The problem was my marketing. I needed a bigger capacity to attract clients. Lowering the price didn't solve this problem. Lowering the price didn't solve any problem. Still, the people couldn't see me. But now the few people that can see me now they're paying me less. Exactly what you say. So now I have less money to operate. So less money to be in front of the right people. And again, Jonathan, if you face it, this is something that I learned because I've been in this problem, the pricing problem. I've been there, and I lost a substantial amount of money because of this. So I learned in the hard way. This is what I discovered. You see, people don't buy the cheapest thing. Look out
Correct.
there. Look out there. Look the cars that everybody's driving. Look the clothes that everybody's wearing. Look the watches that everybody have. Yeah. So look the phones that people have that cost a lot of money. Why people are not having the cheapest phone? For $100 you can buy, I don't know, a Chinese phone that can do pretty much 90% of what any phone does. Why we don't have why we don't drive the cheapest car? Why we don't have the cheapest? Because we human beings, we don't buy on price. You know what we buy on price? Things that we don't care about. If you don't care about your car, you will drive the cheapest car. If you don't care about food, you will buy cheap food. If you don't care, so imagine by you lowering the price, you bring in the less amount of the population, the 20% of the population that doesn't care about what you offer. This is the type of client that you're attracting to you. And I learned this in the hard way. But again, Jonathan, we had to discover. Nobody come and teach us this. I had to make the mistake, analyzing, lost a lot of money, and then, like I tell you, I can talk on the topic for you for hours because I've been there, and I had to understand what actually happened because it didn't make sense to me. Why, if I'm selling cheap, nobody's coming? And I didn't understand, right? So the
Right. Well,
pricing,
here's
this
the
thing that you said about charging the right thing, is key for entrepreneur to succeed. communicate your value effectively. If you go to a client and the client is asking you for discount, Jonathan, what it means is that you're not communicating your value effectively. Because if you communicate the value effectively, as a human, look at you. You're already saying you are the most expensive attorney in your area, and people are buying from you. You know what they're buying from you? Because the case is so important for them that they want the best. And you know what? When they want the best, there is no objection for money. I know this because my mom once was sick and I had to fly to Cuba and pick her up. And I was so desperate. It took me a year of traveling and over a large amount of money. And I remembered that I was on the phone asking, I want the best doctor in the world to see my mom. And I don't know, I don't care how much he charged. He can put his number. I don't care if it's 1 million, 2 million, whatever he charged. I don't care. I just want the best because the health of my mom is at stake. So I want the best person in the planet to look at her and to tell me what can I do. Yeah, now she's healthy, she's happy. So when something is important for you, you want the best, and as an entrepreneur, you need to position yourself at the best, and this come with the price, right? Because your authority come to this. So this is something that is difficult to understand. I've been there, but sometimes I don't know why everything most of the entrepreneurs, uh, I mean, this is what we think. This is how we think. And this same thing that happened to you happened to me in so different points that you're touching. Like this journey that you describe is not only for a lawyer, is for all entrepreneurs. What I'm glad is that you are sharing them openly because we want with this podcast to help as most people as possible. And if they can resonate that, it's not only Harry and Jonathan, it's every single one of us that are in business that somehow are facing this struggle. Some of them have more struggle than others. For me, like I said, I was so lucky that the worst day of my life became the best day of my life because I couldn't function. I was so
Well,
burned out, so tired running my own business that I said I either hire people or this business is gonna kill me, right?
right. Well, a couple things. Number one, people buy with emotions and they justify later. Everything that's bought is bought with emotion. I don't care if it's $7 cups of coffee at Starbucks. I don't care if it's a $60,000 car, Lexus car. You're going to buy with emotion and you're going to justify it to yourself later. So you have to connect emotionally with your customer in some way, whether it's your brand, whether it's your presentation, whether it's everything combined to connect that you actually care. Like our job here, family law, the number one thing we're trying to convey to people that might hire us is we actually care. I hire people that are empathetic, right? Because I want people, because if you don't care about your fellow man, then it's going to be hard to deal with the emotions and all the stuff when it comes to child custody and property distribution and domestic violence and all the other stuff we see here every day. So, you got to keep that in mind and you got to recognize that. And you're right. People find money for what they want to find money for. And they will find money to be able to pay what you're asking, but you got to charge a reasonable fee. And because we charge more than anybody else, I have more staff than anybody else, which means I can provide a higher level of customer service. I can communicate better. I can move the cases faster. I can be proactive. I can always make sure the ball's in the other court in any contested litigation where nobody's waiting on us. We're always waiting on them. Judges appreciate that, and it leads to better outcomes. The thing that clients want in a divorce is they want the case over and they want them to be communicated with. And so because
Absolutely.
I have this staff, I can get the case over quicker and I can communicate better and more effectively. And most clients, if you're in a stress situation, if you're doing, whether it's medical, whether you've not paid your taxes, you're going to see a CPA, whatever, they want it over, right? They want it over. And
Yeah, they
so
want to get
that's
out
one
of
of the
the bad
things you
experience
could
as soon as
do
possible.
by
Yeah,
charging a reasonable fee.
that's priceless to them. Priceless to them, so they can move on. On the other hand, Jonathan, I it came to my attention that there are some states in United States that now is possible people that they are no attorneys, people that they are no lawyers, they can run law firms. And this is what I find very unfair with your fellow lawyers is that um, could be. soon, right in your backyard, Jonathan, right in your neighborhood, somebody operating a law firm that is not a lawyer, but because he understands business, he understands marketing, he understands customer acquisition, he understands this, can put you out of business.
But they're
Because
not gonna put I mean, they're not
the
gonna put me out of business,
no, not
but
to you, but say, yeah,
but they can put
can
somebody
put
else
some
out of business.
exactly,
Yes,
exactly,
you're
yeah.
you're correct.
Hmm.
Arizona already has non-attorney ownership. I think Washington State might. The other thing that's coming into lawyers around the country is these sort of certified legal professionals where paralegals
Hmm.
can do certain document drafting and filings and representation of clients, and they're not attorneys, kind of like PAs can practice medicine and they're not doctors. And so I think
So the
that's a
point
good
is,
thing.
Jonathan, the lawyers need to start to catch up. They need to start to learn about the business dynamic, because this at the moment is on the space and it's not in all countries. So because I don't want to see this. I don't want to see someone like that have a law practice for 20 years, that have business only for referrals and everything, and then, hey, Harry, I came out of business because now we have a competitor out there that, well, it's not even a lawyer, but he know how to hire good lawyer. He know about marketing. He know about sales. He know about this, and he have better entrepreneurial skills than me. And then now, so what is your point of view on this, Jonathan? Do you think that this is actually something that do you think that is fair? Do you think
I
that
do. I think it's a good idea. And again, you won't hear a lot of lawyers say that, but I think it's a good idea. I've seen it in Arizona. I'm going to be out in Phoenix in just a couple of weeks. There's a law firm out there that's owned by a non-attorney that has in 2 years gotten to 20 lawyers, and he's got hundreds and hundreds of five-star reviews. So
wow,
clearly he
wow,
is providing
great
a
business
high level
operator,
of service, right?
wow,
And,
amazing.
and that to me is the most important thing, is that the public is being served. And I don't believe that you have to have an attorney owning a law firm to serve the public. That non-attorney owner is not practicing law. They're hiring lawyers to do it. And so here's the thing. If the non-attorney ownership goes across the country, which I believe it will over the next 10 years, and I hope it does, I think you're going to see Walmart and Costco get in the legal business. And possibly,
Wow.
I know CVS is getting ready to sort of get split up, and the minute clinics and that kind of
Mm.
stuff may get spun off. But I would see somebody like that getting in it as well. You think about it, Walmart is already doing eye exams. Walmart's already in banking. Like, they're in a lot of different things. They'll probably get into the law too. And they'll probably do a really good job of it. But I'm not worried about that, because I'm an advocate, right? Walmart, Costco, those guys, they're not going to be hiring attorneys to go to court and litigate. They're going to be looking to do wills, simple contracts, business incorporations, sort of, cash and carry type things that are not overly complicated, that don't require you to have to go to court, that are not geographically based per se, as much as some other things. And so that's what I think will happen. I think they'll start setting up in malls, which is fine, because there are not enough lawyers out there in the world right now, and there's even fewer who are doing a good job and providing a high quality service. The standard for customer service in law firms, the bar is laying on the ground. Joey Coleman
Wow.
talks about that in his book, Never
Wow.
Lose a Customer Again. I recommend that book. His also Joey Coleman's book, Never Lose an Employee Again. They're phenomenal books. He's a recovering lawyer. He doesn't practice law anymore. He just writes books and gives speeches. But he's right. And we see it every day. Like I literally, Harry, have been to court, and in the last couple years had to introduce my opposing counsel to their client. That's how bad it is, Harry. That is how bad it is out there. Lawyers have more than they can do. They're not focused on customer service. They're focused on themselves. They're
and
not
the
worried about
public
the
and the public
outcome.
is taking
Right. They're just
is not
not.
being served, as they should. Yeah. So, Jonathan, so if people are in love with this conversation, yeah, if some of your fellow lawyers, they are inspired, they want to become an entrepreneur and go for it, and they say, you know what, hey, Jonathan is right. Let me let me catch up, let me develop some entrepreneurship skill. I'm keeping my firm and I'm gonna grow it and I'm gonna grow it exponentially. How people can find you, how the process work?
Yeah, I would you can reach out to me. My email address is Jonathan, JONATHAN at breedenlaw.com. That's BREEDEN law.com. My website is breedenfirm.com. And that goes back to that whole SEO, how to get a new website in 2016. But
Oh, you
breedenfirm.com
did learn very
on
well, yeah.
right on breedenfirm.com, there is an in the media tab there that has all the podcasts I've been on. I've been on I don't know how many podcasts. And if you go listen to some of those podcasts I've been on, I tell my story from beginning to end. I talk about all the different mistakes I make, the hiring mistakes, the things I got right, the things I got wrong. So you can go listen to those. They're on breedenfirm.com under the In the Media tab. You can go to my YouTube page. There's the Breeden Law Office YouTube page, which has over 150, 200 videos. They're largely about law in North Carolina. I have a podcast, which is a local podcast where I interview local county commissioners, small business owners, the Rotary Club president, the mayor of the small town. It's called Best of Johnston County. It is on Apple, Spotify. It has a YouTube channel. If you're interested in local podcasting, you can reach out to me about that. I'm on LinkedIn as just Jonathan Breeden and the Breeden Law Office. I'm on Twitter at Breeden Law NC. They tell me I'm on TikTok and Instagram, I think under Best of Johnston County and the Breeden Law Office. So, I mean, like I said, I'm out there. I'll be glad to talk to anybody about it. Richard James and his coaching program, Your Practice Mastered, it's been tremendous for me. He would be glad to have a conversation with you and see if his program is right for you. It's been a tremendous thing. Postali.com, if you're a lawyer and you're looking to market, they would be happy to work with you. And they're in Columbus, Ohio, and they've got clients all over the country. It really is been a fascinating journey. I love talking to people, love trying to help people. Like I said, if I can do it, a guy from a town of 20,000 people, the son of a CPA and an emergency room nurse, anybody can do it, but you just have to make a decision to be better, be positive, don't quit, keep moving forward, and know that whatever you want is there for the taking, but you have to go get it.
And with that note, see you everyone in our next episode of Unstoppable. How brave entrepreneur like Jonathan break that wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.